and the value, or maybe lack thereof, for one, Damian Lillard. Now, I think the bigger picture here that I want to address is the intense emotional preference, one way or the other, from NBA fans as it relates to this concept of guys staying with one team or being more mercenary and going around to different teams, kind of cherry picking their destinations. See, I'm of the belief that there really shouldn't be an emotional attachment to either approach. Because if you think about this is what these guys do for work. This is their job. And I know it's hard for an average person. I think most people like that they all like understand that, at least in concept. But I don't think it really sits in their belly and like resonates with like, wow, this is what they do for work. Because if it did, they wouldn't have these emotional attachments to either being loyal to a team or moving around, because we all make that decision multiple times in our lives, in our working lives, to either go or come. Sometimes it's not a decision, and sometimes not these guys' decisions. They get traded, they get cut. It's a job for them every bit as much as your job is for you. And there are factors that will get you to stay someplace, even if you don't like the company, even if you hate your boss, even if you think your company's dead end job, even if you think your company might go under. If your kids are in a good school, your wife has an important job, you have a lot of friends in the area, you just hate moving. There's any number of reasons why you would stay somewhere, even if you don't think you can, quote, win there. So even if Damian Lillard knows he's never going to win a title in Portland, there's a lot of reasons why he might just be comfortable and want to stay there. And that's perfectly valid. Just as it's perfectly valid to do the opposite and say, I want to prioritize my highest probability of winning above all else and pursue other things. Or maybe, my sister is like this. She's got wanderlust. She gets in an area after a couple of years. I just like to move around. There's any number of reasons to take that approach too. One thing I think is not really kosher is, and there's no real equivalent of this in the business world, but Kevin Durant was crazy with the Golden State Warriors. You choked to them. You were up 3-1. And like, you're playing, when you're someone as great as him, you're playing for posterity. And it would be like George Washington winning the Revolutionary War and then joining the British Empire. Like you're playing for your legacy at that point. You shouldn't do that. So, but something like that is probably about the only example I can think of that to me doesn't just make sense. Because to me, what Kyrie does makes sense. He's got wanderlust. What Lillard is doing makes sense. He's comfortable in Portland. What LeBron did, Miami, made sense. He wanted to play with his friends. He wanted to go win. That was his experience. It makes sense. All of this makes sense. There's no virtue in either approach. What Melo did made sense. His priority was money. He made sure he made every dollar he could possibly earn in his career. That's perfectly valid. Everyone has different motivation, different priorities, different tolerance for different things. If you're someone who is high enough up in your profession where you can kind of dictate your own terms, as all these star players can, for the most part, you then have options, and you choose the option that is most comfortable to you. They all have their pluses and minuses. Damian Lillard knows, while he's important, his chances of winning a championship are almost zero, especially with the current roster. He knows that. But there's other things that he's prioritizing that matter to him. Maybe he does have a sense of just like blind loyalty. It's a value to him, and that's fine. I don't personally have that with things, but it's not wrong to have it. It's not right either. It just is. So I'm just sick of the constant both sides of this arguing about, why I hate how players move around, or, I love the fact that this guy's loyal, or like, no, everyone does the same thing in their work all the time. It's just part of life. These guys are making career choices by staying or by going. And sometimes they don't get to make choices. Sometimes they get traded or they get cut. We don't get to make choices either. People get fired. Companies go out of business. They reorganize things. You get a new boss you can't stand. Like, things happen. It's just the world, man. And the NBA is no different. It just, it happens to be a vocation that is desirable that most people can't attain. And it happens to pay absurd amounts of money. But besides those two differences, it's their vocation. So the same rhythm and flow of decision making applies.
It does. And I get tired of hearing people criticize Lillard for his decision. It's his decision. It's not yours.
He doesn't have to win a championship. And this is the problem with the championship cult. Damian Lillard is going to be no less a great player if he never wins a title than he is right now.
No, he's going to make the Hall of Fame, too.
Right.
I mean, he's one of the elite scorers of this generation.
100%. You get sick of it. I mean, that's the problem with this whole evaluating greatness by championship count. Right? Like, it just is the worst possible way to do it. Because a lot of it's luck. It really is. Like, you have to be awesome, of course, but your team has to be awesome. And you have to be healthy. And there has to be a team, not another out there that's better. There's a lot you have to get some bounces. Like, there's a lot that has to go right to win a championship. It really is. But I'm watching this over the weekend during my time in Charlotte, and I'm thinking to myself, for me, I can relate. Now, I don't know Lillard's inner motivations, of course, but I've certainly turned down pretty attractive job opportunities because I don't want to move or because I want to retain a certain level of autonomy.
Right.
I would have made more money. I would have had less responsibility. I would have, moved somewhere else physically, but I don't want those things. But, someone else would jump at it because it's a good opportunity. It's just not good for me. And that's not right or wrong. That's just what I value, what I prioritize. And by the way, most of these things aren't set in stone. What I prioritize now at 37, almost 38 years old, it's not the same thing I prioritized when I was 25 and probably won't be the same thing I prioritize when I'm 55. But,
right.
But that's just the way it is. And of course, the other key difference with Lillard's vocation versus most others is the window is short. 35 is old. 35 is not even quite mid-career for a quote regular job, right? So it's a big that's a difference, but that is in part why the pay is what it is. The bigger part is, of course, the money in the sport because of public interest and the short supply of the people that can do that activity at that level.
It's a very specialized job.
Yes. There's many people that can pull it off.
It's not, they're putting nothing up saying we're taking resumes. I mean, if you have show any signs of being able to do that job, they've already found you.
They know who you are. Yes, absolutely. There's no question about it.
Now, I'm kind of the opposite of you, even though I've been here for a long time. There were a lot of circumstances that kept me here.
Mm-hmm.
But if there's a right situation for me, and due to the fact that I do work from here,
yep,
I could go anywhere.
Right.
If I'm tired of the next impact snowstorm, in May, I could pull up stakes in a heartbeat because I've done it so many times before.
Mm-hmm.
I've lived in a number of places. I'm also nearing a point where I don't want to make more moves. But I'm also at a point where I'm not totally comfortable either.
Right. And that's the thing. I mean, people's lives and their situations change all the time. I mean, I never liked moving. I never liked traveling. Even at 25, 23, that was the principal reason I almost didn't go into broadcasting at all was because I didn't want to relocate. That was that was the reason I got out of it after a short period of time and kind of took the route that we're taking now, which is starting and operating our own show, our own station. I needed to do both. I needed to choose where I wanted to live, be able to settle somewhere, and so do broadcasting. And the only way to do that was to do it as an entrepreneur. I needed both. When I was in college, my decision was choosing between the two. I hadn't really considered the option that I might be able to do both in a more creative way until my senior year of college, where the idea for this enterprise first started in a class project. But the decision to pursue one path or the other was made a couple years prior to that. And by that point, I was, as they say, pot committed. So, I was getting ready to graduate in 12 months at that point. So I pursued forward. But for me, it was always like swallowing charcoal to consent to moving any place. I hate moving. I don't even like going away. I'm a total homebody. I like knowing all of the baristas at my local coffee shop, all of the waiters and waitresses at my local restaurants, walking down the street, recognizing the postal worker. Like, I like that feeling. I don't like being a visitor places. I like being at home. So for me, that was always a part of this business that I detested. But that's a very strong desire. Whereas, other people have that. Other people have a strong desire to make as money as they possibly can. Some people are desired by pure attention. How notable can I become? Other people have wanderlust. Other people care about weather. Some people move for politics. They want to align with the area they live in. There's so many reasons to decide where you apply a vocation, and none of them are right or wrong. They're just what matter to you.
Mm-hmm. Well, I had a recent opportunity here at a station that wanted someone to do some board hopping in the occasional air shift, and the money was okay.
Yep.
But I chose not to, and this happened just in the last few days.
Oh, interesting.
I chose not to because I've been in this business off and on for a long time. I remember being fired by PDs because, they didn't like the way I parked my car. I mean, it's programmers are the flakiest people in the business, and you could get on their bad side just by existing.
That's true.
I'm already on your bad side, but we work well. So I too am comfortable.
Dylan is an absolute animal. I planned on being an OBGYN, but God decided I was best fit as a Facebook commenter.
Oh God, I could hear Whitney either flying from the room screaming or boyfriends and husbands just coming in with fists up.
That's funny.
And my money would be on Dylan anyway, so
yeah, I'm not getting in the fight with Dylan. That's a fact.
Yeah.
He's from Indiana. That makes him probably flung hay as a kid or something.
That's
although if there was one person that cautioned Dylan to avoid, it's the other guy in the comments here, John. John's a soon-to-be professional power lifter. And I got to know him a little bit, and he's asking about John Morant. That was something else that I wanted to address. In fact, I'd like to address that after the break, the full conversation. There's a lot to get into with that.
And the rant I had involved none of that. So this could be an interesting show.
This could be a long show, yes.
I have a little something too that bothered me this weekend.
What is it?
Just some sick NBA stuff and some stupid comments made.
Oh, I love stupid comments. They're my favorite. All right, so let's do this. Let's get into that on the other side of the break. We'll also talk about John Morant. We have the question of the day still to get to. Of course, we'll do the Yankees and Mets today as we consummate our season preview of the AL and NL East. So lots to get to. Just getting rolling. It's the Gary Ayd Show. Back after this here on The Cave.
Do you want to save money on this flight? Then pick up the phone and call. That's right, call. Because these prices are not online. They're with SmartFares. See Smart SmartFares has special deals with the airlines. When they have unsold seats, they use SmartFares to fill them. So you get airline tickets at crazy low prices. They have access to great prices and discounts at over 500 different airlines, plus 300,000 hotels and rental car companies. Their prices are too low to publish online. With the extra money you'll save, you can book another trip or treat yourself to dinner or shopping. So stop searching all of those travel sites to find the lowest price on your next flight. Let one of our SmartFares expert travel agents find the best price for you. Call SmartFares today and get ready to see the world with a fat wallet.
800-370-2460. 800-370-2460. 800-370-2460. That's 800-370-2460.
Come on, you watch the news. Be prepared to pay more taxes. Then if you owe back taxes or haven't filed in a few years, get ready. The IRS, the largest collection agency in the world, will be coming after you. Will collect taxes by any means they want to. Hey, they can freeze your bank account, your passport, even pack your business. Oh, good times. Look, if the IRS claims you owe them $5,000 in back taxes coming after you, don't panic. Call my friends at Get a Tax Lawyer first. Their job is to negotiate with the IRS and save you money. They're experts at it. That's all they do, and you can trust them. In some cases, they have reduced a $50,000 tax bill to less than $1,000. If you owe the IRS $5,000 or more in back taxes, call now for a free consultation.
Call 800-649-8617. 800-649-8617. 800-649-8617. 800-649-8017.
We are back, and before we get into John Rant stuff, let's go into what you were talking about, Rich.
Okay, this is something I saw on For the Win, the USA Today's basketball column. Draymond Green's claim European players are held to different standards is completely ridiculous. And I totally agree with this. European players have been in the spotlight a lot. You know, Kendrick Perkins ran off. And this man's just a moron. The worst one. I'm just trying not to be that bad. He went on about Nikola Jokic is going to win his third MVP trophy because Dirk Nowitzki won one and Steve Nash won two because they were white. There is some creed to the Steve Nash argument, and I get it. Nash did not deserve those two. Shaq, you didn't deserve either, so before you come in and start mumbling, just stay away. Stay far away. Mumble incoherently someplace else. Nash should have got the one, and he did for what his team did, and it's a regular season award, which is another place Perkins is way off base. Nowitzki damn well deserved his, and so has Jokic. I know a lot of them want to pound the pavement for Joel Embiid, but their argument, well, what has Jokic won? I can ask the same question about Embiid, except I'm not attacking Joel Embiid, so I've never asked that question. He's just attacking white winners. And it's ridiculous, it's short-sighted, it's stupid, and it shows plain ignorance. Well, after that, and if that wasn't bad enough, Draymond Green kind of doubled down. He was in a conversation with Kendrick Perkins, with Gilbert Arenas about this. On Arenas' podcast, Green said the European NBA players aren't getting the same pressure to win as American-born players are. And he talked about how he saw a list from Stephen A. Smith on this and that he agreed with it. But Stephen A. Smith was detailing the players under the most pressure to win a championship. Luka Doncic wasn't on the list, but Nikola Jokic was. And I'm going to quote Green because he said, quote, I feel like over the years, European players have not caught the same flack of winning a championship as U.S. players, and I don't understand that, end quote. Hilariously enough, Stephen A. Smith agreed with him. And all the Jokic detractors, because he hasn't won a title, and Perkins is on top of this list too, is ridiculous. I mean, how just a few years ago, weren't we talking about Giannis not being able to win, or a lot of people were? Decade before that, Dirk got the same flap. Doesn't mean they don't deserve MVPs. They were the most valuable player to their team in the league, and that's what the award is. It's not how many titles you won. It shouldn't be a popularity contest, and it shouldn't be divided by race. And I think everyone has dropped the ball on this, at least at ESPN. And nobody puts a stop to it, so the racism just keeps on coming. And it's uncalled for. What happened to just talking about the game, Gary?
Yeah, I mean, look, ultimately, this is all a problem, right? Like, everything you just said is an issue. The thing is, if that's how people feel, that's how they feel, right? I mean, there's not a lot you can do about that. I think ultimately you can disagree with their feelings. You can argue them. You can do what you just did. I'll take the other side of it very well. I think that's the important thing. I really do. I think I mean, this is the essence, right, of freedom of speech and conversation. I find all those opinions silly. I find them maybe even uncomfortable. But having them not discussed would actually be worse, because this is what I always say about more sensitive topics like race relations and whatnot in the broader society. If someone's going to dislike me because of my race or anything else as irrelevant as that, I want them to feel empowered and comfortable to be forthright about it versus just hiding it below the surface. You know, I'd rather the conversation, to be honest, as uncomfortable as it might be. I think it's healthier in the long run, but I agree with you. Look, Jokic is an interesting case. I've often said this. He'll probably win his third straight MVP. He's going to be like the fourth guy ever to do that. And he's going to be the only one who at some point in that 3-year stretch, if he does in fact win it this year, can win one or more titles. And he's going to also be the only one who during that stretch is not universally mentioned as the second name when discussing who the best player in the game is. And so he's a very interesting figure in NBA history with what he's done recently. And it's an interesting thing to consider. It really is.
It just bothers me that that's the first place people have to go. I'm not saying they can't make an opinion. They have their right to an opinion like everyone else. Let's base it off of play, not race. That's a weak argument and an easy way out. And if it were done the opposite way, someone would be called out quickly.
Yes, that's true. And that's where I understand. So anyway, so now that's a good rant. Let's talk about this Morant thing. We're getting a lot of talk in the comments about this. Look, this kind of just coming out a little bit before I went away. We probably would have talked about this more Friday had we had a show. It's certainly optically looking worse and worse. The Grizzlies have now taken action. He's away from the team indefinitely. He's made a statement, a contrite type of statement. But the one thing that hasn't changed here, no law been proven to have been broken. Is it beyond stupid to go on Facebook or Instagram Live and like hold a gun on the screen? Of course it is. Is it legal? Not if you own the gun rightly. No, it's dumb.
You're in someone else's business.
Right.
It may not be legal to carry a gun in there.
Well, where was he filmed that?
Strip club.
Okay, well, you know what? If you have a concealed carry, that's why if you have a legal concealed carry, those are generally things that are governed by state laws. And Tennessee is one of the most accepting states in the country in terms of concealed carry gun ownership. So assuming he was in Tennessee, I guess I don't even know that, but assuming he was, it's unlikely that that's the problem. But the bottom line is, there's two bottom lines here.
You want the NBA. If you're the NBA, do you want this look?
That was stupid. It's a bad look, but a bad look does not mean illegal. And in my opinion, I'm not into punishing people for stupidity. I'm into punishing people breaking laws that have proven to have been broken. So
you can also break codes of conduct.
Well, yeah, and
which may not be laws, but they're a law.
And that's where
business.
that's where this action by the Grizzlies comes into play, and that's fine. But what I'm saying is, without further proof that a law was broken, it should basically stop where it's at right now. He'll be away for a little while. They'll let it cool down. They'll probably make him take some BS class that doesn't matter, and that'll be the end of it, unless there's proof that some of the stuff that was alleged last week actually happened. Some of those things elevate to the level of some kind of law being broken. And that's a different story. That has to be proven. It's dumb as hell, no matter what. Whether it's legal or not, it's not stupid. But me personally, I have no problem with what the Grizzlies have done to this point. But without proof of more nefarious wrongdoing, I wouldn't be an advocate for escalating this punishment any further than it's already been taken. That's what I'm saying. But all of those things you're talking about, Dylan, are alleged. Those are the things that I'm saying have to be court of law. You are innocent until proven guilty, and I take it that way. Look, I say O.J. Simpson was innocent because he was never proven. That's how literal I take that. And I've been that way for forever. Every time an issue like this comes up, I have this exact same take. I know I said broken record, but hey, that's just what it is.
I look at it a little differently. I think there's a basic code of conduct that also has to be
right and I
taken into account. If walking around with a gun and threatening people and pointing a laser at a team bus because you want to be a punk, and this kid was not raised that way. This was a private school kid. He is trying to live something he's not. And I don't know if it's the people around him influencing him, but it's only going to cause more trouble than it's worth. And you start to look at him and wonder why Memphis is looking at it saying, yeah, there's some trouble here. Doesn't matter if he has a right to carry. Does he have the common sense not to threaten anyone? Does he have the common sense not to go on Instagram and brandish your gun around live right after this stuff comes out?
Yeah, well, that was stupid. Hence why I'm happy.
And it's a book for $1 billion business. I don't care who you are.
Oh, it is. And that's why the Grizzlies actually have made perfect sense. They've not been they haven't overreacted. I don't think they acted too quickly. Well,
you have to find out things too.
Right. Well, no, I think they've been prudent and proper in everything they've done with the Grizzlies. I really do. I think they've handled this. about as good as you can. And what I'm saying is where things sit right now, I would leave them lie there until any legal process that may be forthcoming plays out. I wouldn't go further. I think what they've done to this point and making it from 2 games to indefinite makes sense, because by making it indefinite, you give yourself the ability to react quickly based on changing legal circumstances. But I think there's no reason to make any additional changes here until such a time where you have more legal grounds to do so. And then at that point, let the law do it. At that point, it's out of your hands if you're the Grizzlies. You know, at a point, if some of this stuff is proven to be true, then, well, now you're talking jail time with some of these things. And, you know, then now it's out of your hands. And this goes from a stupid idiot thing to do to a tragedy of a blown career. And it becomes very much a cautionary tale. And, you know, we haven't had one of those in quite a while. It might be good for in a sick way. It might be a silver lining for a younger generation to be reminded that this can all be taken away if you don't act appropriately. Because that hasn't happened in a long time. When was the last time we saw a high-level athlete have his career cut short because of bad choices? Probably Aaron Hernandez in the NFL. And that was a good 10 years ago.
What's the name with Gilbert Arenas?
Yeah, that was 15 years ago.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. We haven't had one of these in a while. And in a big picture way, having one of these type of things pop up of you once in a while does serve a purpose for society. When they're never, you never root for them, but there's usually good and all bad. And that's definitely one piece of good that comes from it. Is I think we used to have these more frequently. And I think because we had them more frequently at one point, a whole generation or two of people saw enough of them and, for lack of a better word, behaved better. So anyway,
I just think it's a shame that we had to bring all this out before we even went out about the Knicks winning their ninth in a row.
So much to talk about. The Bucks had their streak snapped by Philadelphia. What a game that was. We got all that stuff to get to. We got the question of the day. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll do the question of the day. Then we'll dive into the NBA stuff. It's the Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave.
Are you like me? You have health insurance, but you don't have dental insurance. Do you need to get to the dentist right away? Maybe you need an implant or some other major service. Well, I found a dental insurance plan that's just right for you. It's called Spirit Dental. Spirit Dental offers a $100 lifetime deductible, a huge network of dentists. And here's the best part. There's no waiting periods. Yeah, that means you can call right now and have real dental insurance for you and your family tomorrow and get that immediate coverage you want. Spirit Dental has plans for just a few dollars a day, up to $5,000 annual maximum, and coverage for implants. Whatever age you are, the dental insurance you need is a free phone. Are you like me? You have health insurance, but you don't have dental insurance. Do you need to get to the dentist right away? Maybe you need an implant or some other major service. Well, I found a dental insurance plan that's just right for you. It's called Spirit Dental. Spirit Dental offers a $100 lifetime deductible, a huge network of dentists. And here's the best part. There's no waiting periods. Yeah, that means you can call right now and have real dental insurance for you and your family tomorrow and get that immediate coverage you want. Spirit Dental has plans for just a few dollars a day, up to $5,000 annual maximum, and coverage for implants. Whatever age you are, the dental insurance you need is a free phone call away. Now don't wait, and be sure to ask about Spirit's vision plan. Here's the number: 800-631-9229. 800-631-9229. That's 800-631-9229.
All righty, we're back here on the Gary Ayd Show. I've been made aware of some technical difficulties with audio. Hopefully everyone can hear me okay. But let's get to the question of the day. But first, Rich, let's NBA. You hear me okay right now?
I do.
All right, perfect. I don't know what's going on today. But all right. So let's talk about the Knicks. 9 straight wins. Julius Randle continues to play awesome. They got a big game from RJ Barrett. Huge game from Josh Hart. And Emmanuel Quigley had the game of his life. You're getting big time contributions from every place now. It's really, really cool to see.
Oh, it really is. And the nice thing about these 9 wins, all of them were over teams either in a play or play-in spot or competing. No, they were all in them. Quality wins. Yeah, Quickly didn't rest a minute in the first half either. And he played 55 minutes in the game, so that was a Tibbs special. But they've earned these 9 wins. They've played very well. Yeah, Quickly did not come out for 1 second after halftime. He threw in 38 points in 55. Like you said, the game of his life, but a well-deserved win. Julius Randle had an excellent game. Thanks, Dylan. That's something I'm going to wait for Gary on.
What?
Oh, there you are. Now I was just talking about Quickly's game and how Tatum 55 minutes and not 1 second rest in the second half, and that's so Tibbs. What Dylan just said. Derek Carr's heading to New Orleans, 4-year deal.
Wow. So that's a big one. New Orleans.
Now what happens to the Jets?
It's Aaron or bust. Come on, Nate. The guy we brought you here for.
Who knows what Rodgers is going to do? If you had a chance at somebody and decided to wait, I don't feel for you if the guy doesn't come. And I wonder how much of the media in New York Aaron Rodgers wants to put up with.
Well, you hired Nate the Great for a reason.
That could just be garden variety stupidity. I mean, it's just one of those, well, he's experienced. Let's get him. Yeah, okay.
Hey. You know, sometimes you can have experience that's bad experience.
Yes. And one other thing about the Quickly thing, playing 38 minutes and playing the entire second half and overtime, he only had 1 turnover, and he looked like he had more energy than anybody else on the floor. How does that happen?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he is young.
But
he played great though. I mean, that was the game of his life. And I'll tell you what, the Knicks are now, they're playing about as good as they can play. We understand that, but right now, if they can play at this level on a sustained basis, they're a threat in this Eastern Conference. I mean, they're not just a playoff team. They're a contender. They really are. I mean, right now in the East, you have, in my opinion, 4 contenders. You have the Bucks, the Sixers, the Celtics, and the Knicks. I think the Knicks are one of the 4 best in the Eastern Conference right now. I really do.
I always thought that first tier was the first 3 teams, and the Knicks and the Cavs were just underneath it. But the Knicks are half behind Cleveland now. So that spot is there for the taking, and the Cavs aren't exactly lighting it up. So the East is starting to get very interesting, and not having a clue on what happened to go on.
I mean, look,
and I'm here for it.
No, the East is going to be loaded. It's going to be absolutely loaded. I think ultimately better conference, but I think the West is rounding into form. I really like Sacramento, Denver. Of course, we know Phoenix is now going to be a big threat. And I think, also, I think you still have to consider the Clippers. I think, if they can manage to get healthy, the Lakers roster currently is interesting, but they might be too far gone. But I think the East is a better conference this year. And I think East is going to be heavy duty.
Agree. Kenny Smith made an interesting point on Thursday night about the Clippers. He said, man for man, this is as much of a championship roster as anyone. What's the disconnect? Because I don't disagree. I think the roster is great. If they're healthy, what's the big disconnect?
Right.
Why are they not? I mean, the game before this one, he was praising Covington when they needed him for the game he had, and he was outstanding. And he rewarded him by, I think he benched him the entire game yesterday again. I don't understand the rotations. The substitution patterns are baffling. And I don't think he played. Covington did not play. Coach's decision.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Covington was a prime guy to be moved during the trade deadline. I really did. I thought he has never, for whatever reason, been part of this rotation. I thought he's never, for whatever reason, been. He was like the equivalent of Cam Reddish, right? Obviously, he's a much more established, proven player than Reddish, but I mean, in terms of where he was in the rotation, for the same inexplicable reasons. Sometimes good players just don't fit in certain situations for one reason or the other. It could be personality.
But whenever he plays, he fits.
But he plays well. That's why it's confounding. Yes.
Because he started off the season playing great for them, and then all of a sudden he's benched for long stretches. Not a game, not 2 games, long stretches. They bring him back in 2 games ago, before last night's. He is great off the bench, and a reason why they stay in the game as long as they did.
Yep, absolutely.
Then he doesn't play a minute last night.
It's something.
And I can't see that being because the bench was great. I mean, the only 2 guys who played off the bench were Plumlee, and he played for Zubats. And Batum played 17 minutes. The other 2 are guards.
Mm-hmm.
Why Covington is not in this rotation, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't understand it. And why, if they're not going to play him in the rotation, they didn't move him at some point, because he has value. There's any number of teams would take a Robert Covington. He wouldn't be a hard guy to move. He's usually very healthy. He's He's never been a problem. He fits.
Not at all.
He fits almost everywhere. The skills he brings, every team needs. It doesn't make sense. It's a double whammy of nonsensicalness. The first one is what you just said. Why isn't he playing? It doesn't make sense. And the second one is, if you're not going to play him, why didn't you move him? That also makes no sense.
And I'm looking at Marcus Morris, who started at that spot and played just over 25 minutes. His 5 points, 2 rebounds, 3 assists.
Yeah, it's not.
Well, Hugh says he does the little things. Well, no steals and no blocks. Those aren't little things, but what did he bring to the table that Covington can't do? And if the attitude is, well, we want another strong big off the bench, then why doesn't he play off the bench?
Yep.
And I'm starting to wonder if it's coaching on this team.
It very well might be. I mean, Ty Lue is probably the most confounding coach in the NBA to me. I don't know what to make of him and where to rate him, because I'm sorry, I don't give a ton of credit for succeeding with LeBron James. I just don't. Like, prime LeBron, like, you were guaranteed to win. The one thing he did that I give him credit for is he got through Kyrie long enough for that to work. He's the only one that's managed to do that so far. So that's
right.
That he gets credit for. But since he's been an undisputed head coach, he's been equal parts moderately successful. His teams are usually in the mix, but you never got the sense that they were a true contender. A number of years we felt that they should be a true contender, but they're not. So that speaks to maybe underachieving a little bit. But then you say, well, how much of that's his fault? Both of his 2 best players are made out of glass, which is true. So I don't know what to make of Ty Lue, is what it boils down to. I really don't.
I don't either. It baffles me.
We have a very dedicated fan here, Austin, saying he's watching the show while taking a shower. I don't know how I'm supposed to feel about that.
Well, I think it depends more on how he feels about that.
It's an interesting one. We got a lot of action in the comments today. Let's go through some of these real quick, going back a little bit. John says, I feel like Rodgers should just retire, but he's still so good. He thinks he'll go to the Jets. I hope you're right. We talked about the Derek Carr thing. That's a surprise to me that New Orleans made that deal, but I'll tell you what.
It's a surprise to me that Carr made that deal.
Well, I guess that's what I meant. I'm surprised that New Orleans was able to make that deal, I guess is the way I should have said it. I agree with you. But, good for them. Look, that's an organization that has at least recent history of success. And one thing about when you have one of these like turnovers of end of an era, so to speak, you still have a little what I call institutional memory of how to be successful. So while you still have that, quickly transitioning to the next core group can perpetuate that. And maybe that's what New Orleans is going for. I mean, Carr's a good quarterback, Rich.
I think he's better than what a lot of people say about him. I don't think he's the answer.
No, but he's good.
Oh yeah,
you're not likely to find a better quarterback than Derek Carr just randomly off the street, and you're unlikely to draft a guy like that. Period. Let alone outside the top 3. So it makes perfect sense.
The Rodgers thing.
Yep.
Interests me more. First, you have to. How long is he going to wait?
Yep.
And what is he going to do? Now, remember, $59 million this year. Not a lot of people can take that contract in without having to make major cuts. the Jets have a lot of young players on good deals. They might have a better opportunity to do it. Does Rodgers want to play there? A lot of people think he is going to retire. I don't. I think he's got 59 million reasons not to.
Retiring. There's no
Put
way,
up with it for one more year.
there's no way he's retiring. I mean, look.
What if he just says the devil you know is better than the one you don't and stays in Green Bay?
I mean, it's a very possible outcome. I mean, I look at it like this, and I have no idea. Like you said before, I have no idea what to make of Aaron Rodgers.
He has no idea what to make of himself.
Well, exactly. But I will say this. I think personally, it's going to be hard for anyone who is still that good, that can still command, as you just said, that big a salary, to just walk away. I think he's going to play someplace. I think the idea that he's considering retirement is completely not true. That's the only outcome that would shock me, would be if he retired. Where he goes and why and when, I have no clue. But I will be stunned if he retires. Stunned. I mean, yeah, he's old, but are there 6 guys in the world better at his job than him?
No.
So is there anything he's going to do that's going to make $50 million a year for the next couple of years? No. So
No, he's not exactly the most wanted person either.
No, he's not. He's pretty funny though in some of his commercials, but
he is.
I'd be shocked if he retired. Totally shocked. But hey, I've been shocked before, but I would be very surprised.
I don't think he is either.
Is John talking about Buffalo as a backup?
No. First of all,
that doesn't make
they're
any
20
sense.
million over the cap right now. So
and why would you say Aaron Rodgers is not a backup quarterback? Come on, he's probably just messing with you. Actually, I think that's a sarcastic comment.
if you presented that to Rodgers, he'd laugh.
Yes.
And use a few choice words.
Yes.
And if you present that to Buffalo, they would ask if he was going to come and play for nothing.
Yep.
Because they have nothing under their cap. They're 20 million over with a lot of free agents.
Yeah, I figured John, I was correct. John just poking at you just for the fun of it. I was like, he doesn't really mean that. All right. You know what? Let's take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll start the hour with the top 5. Then we'll do our baseball. We'll do the question of the day, and we'll wrap it up with some news you can use. Busy show today. We got a few minutes though before the top of the hour. Anything big happen in the world of hockey? We know the Patrick Kane deal. What's gone on the last few days?
You know, it's business as usual now. Now it's just people jockeying for playoff position. The Lightning have been playing terribly since they came into Buffalo and lost. And Carolina beat them yesterday 6-0. They've lost like 4 out of their last 5, and everyone's trying to figure out what's wrong with them. There wasn't a lot of action last night. The only local that played was the Devils, and they beat Arizona 5-4. Things have calmed since the trade deadline, but there are just a lot of teams trying to figure out how to fit all these players in and what they can do. And, you know, in that Devils game, Timo Meier got a goal in his debut. That, to me, was the best pickup of the trade deadline.
Timo Meier?
Yeah, he's 26. He's in his prime. The goal he scored is his 32nd. He's a winner. He's a leader. He's a goal scorer, and he plays hard. And throwing him out there with Nico Hischier, they're dynamite together. And I'm looking forward to seeing how well they play. There's teams like Toronto that added like 8 pieces. It's like you got 20 games to fit them all in. It's not as easy as it is throwing a few players into the NBA because of the style of play.
Right, of course.
There's other people you have to fit with. Or in the NBA, the best players want you to fit with them, and that's the way it should be. And Seattle, the Road Warriors went on another, they had old wrestler reference, went on to beat the Avalanche yesterday in a fun game. And a month after their 7-game road trip ended 7-0, they ended 4-0 in this one. I think at that point, you got to be afraid to play at home.
Tell you what, being afraid to play at home with is bad news, usually.
Yes. But yeah, there's a lot, and I really think the Devils helped themselves a lot, as did the Rays. And the thing that I hate is they're probably going to meet in the first round. I don't like the way that's set up because one of the two of them should not be out after one round.
Yeah, that's unfortunate that worked out that way.
It is.
We're probably going to have a lot of that in the Eastern Conference playoffs here in the NBA. I mean,
yeah.
Think about the 3-6 and the 4-5 matchups. That's going to be all of those
4 or 5 as it stands. Cleveland and the Knicks.
Yeah.
Neither deserve to be out.
No. And then 3-6 would probably be Philadelphia and I guess maybe who would the 6 be right now? I guess
possibly Miami.
Yeah, okay, so that's not that big a deal. That 4-5 matchup will certainly be a tough one to see go out and around.
Right now, the 6 would be Brooklyn, but I don't expect them to hold that spot, although they've won 2 in a row.
It's an interesting tactic here. Bit of news. You might have this in news you can use, but I'm going to mention it real quick now. I heard a report over the weekend that Adam Silver could potentially be a candidate to replace Bob Iger as Disney CEO.
That was part of my news, but we can discuss it now.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, that would be a first in my lifetime in terms of a guy going from commissioner to business leader. Versus we've seen it before where it's a business leader to commissioner. But generally speaking, the commissionership of random sports league X tends to be the capstone of one's professional career, not the stepping stone. That would be an obvious step up. I mean, being a commissioner of the NBA is a huge job, of course, but being the CEO of Disney is huger.
Yes.
I mean, that's one of the biggest companies in the whole world. I mean, they're enormous. And obviously his connections.
And that's not just any job.
No. And his connections to the NBA would probably be valuable to Disney, obviously, because Disney, of course, the parent company of ESPN, would probably still have some role in the media piece of Disney's rights with the NBA, but on the other side of the table. So that'd be really interesting. Anyway, all right, let's take a break.
Do you think there's really a chance of it happening?
I mean, I do. I mean, I don't know. I think it's more likely that Disney decides it's not the right fit than him. I think it's hard to imagine turning down that job if it's offered to you. I mean, it's about as big a business job as you have.
It's not like the CEO of J. Penny or anything.
No, I mean, there's not many jobs like it. And the thing is, like I was just saying, he still probably have just enough connection to the NBA, its partnership with ESPN, aka Disney, and he'd probably still have just enough hand in that pie to maybe make him feel that he could still kind of feel involved if he needs to feel that way. But it's interesting. It really is. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll do the top 5. We'll do the question of the day. We'll do our baseball matchups and news you can use. That's just on tap for hour 2. It's the Gary Ayd Show. Back after this here on The Cave. All righty, welcome back to the Gary Ayd Show, hour 2 here on The Cave, cavetalkradio.com, Cave Talk Radio app. It's great to have you aboard. Gary Ayd, Rich, and Selmo, top of the hour. of course, means one thing and one thing only. It's time now for the top 5.
This is the moment we've all been waiting for. It's time for Kings Talk Radio's Top 5.
Alrighty, what do we got today, Rich?
Okay, one thing, we have a question in the chat. Is Ovechkin going to retire, or is he going to keep playing? He's going to keep playing.
Oh, yeah.
When you're that close to a record people thought would never be broken, you're not going to leave, especially when you got a chance to break it.
Absolutely. I mean, unless you're Barry Sanders.
Well, yeah. Barry was an interesting situation, though. Ovi already has a ring.
Yep, it's true.
Speaking of which, my top 5 today, the top 5 records that won't be broken.
Oh, man, there's so many.
Yeah, but give me the biggest of the big.
I mean, the problem is I'm going to lump a lot of the baseball records in one because I could do a whole list of just like almost 2 guys. Like I could do a whole list of like Ty Cobb and Cy Young, just those 2 people, you know? So I'm going to go ahead and say Cy Young's records. I'm just going to call them his. So that's the win record, the loss record, the innings pitched record, all those things. I mean, that's never happening. I mean, we could agree with that, right?
The way the game's being played now, yeah.
Yes. That's never happening. I would be shocked if Nolan Ryan's strikeout record was ever seriously challenged. Cal Ripken's games played streak comes to mind. I think John
Well, I'll tell you what. You want to continue this during the week and do a top 5 in baseball today?
Yeah, I mean, I can go other sports. I'm just listing a bunch out now. We
I say let's do baseball today and then move on.
Okay, well, because my next one was going to be John Stockton. Both of his recs are going to be very, very tough break.
Let's save that for tomorrow and do basketball.
Okay, all right. So
let's do all baseball because there are so many, like you said.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Let's make it a little mini series.
Let's see. I think, I think a record that's gonna be really tough is Hank Aaron's RBI record. Pujols gave it a nice run. That's gonna be a tough one to come close to. I mean that's a lot of RBIs. Barry Bonds' walk record is never going to be touched ever. If there's one record that's been set in this millennium that is going to endure the way Cy Young's did from 2 centuries ago, the answer is Barry Bonds' walk record. Whether it's overall walks or intentional walks, no one's ever coming close to that. There was a statistic, I gave it on the air. Now I don't remember it specifically, but it was something to the effect of if you add up the remaining people in the top 5 of intentional walks, they still don't equal Barry Bonds' total or something like that. It was something preposterous where it's like he's so far ahead in that department. It's never going to happen. So I think that's a really tough one. That'd be pretty much impossible. And then, so we got Cal Ripken, we got Young, we got Nolan Ryan. I'm going to go Bonds with his walks. So Cal Ripken, Cy Young, Nolan Ryan, Bonds. I think Ricky Henderson's stolen base record is going to be pretty much unapproachable too.
Oh yeah, people don't steal bases anymore. Not at that rate.
No. I like that. Yep.
The RBI record.
Yeah, Hank Aaron, I mentioned that one. That's a tough one.
Yeah.
Dylan's just dropping names here. Carlos Zambrano. I have to ask him, why is he your favorite pitcher ever? I'm just curious. I get Pujols. Okay. Understood. What's it about Carlos Zambrano?
That's a good question.
Like, I mean, I like Carlos Zambrano was a good pitcher. I liked Carlos Zambrano. I remember thinking when the Mets traded Scott Kazmir for Victor Zambrano, they must have made a mistake and thought they were getting Carlos because it didn't make any sense. Thinking that. That's all I mean, he was a good pitcher for the Cubs. I guess Dylan's a Cub guy. That's probably why he's his favorite pitcher. But and I agree. Just put Barry Bonds in the Hall. Let's see. Other hard to. I mean, the all-time batting average record's never going to be touched. No one's ever batting 368 for a career, like Ty Cobb did. So, well, it would be 368 would break Ty Cobb's record. That's not going to happen. People don't bat 368 in the season. You have to do that for a whole career. That's not going to happen.
A career of it's it's a lot to ask.
Not going to happen. If Tony Gwynn didn't do it, no one's doing it. That was the last best shot. I think that's a good list. So now let's narrow these down. Number one to me has to be Cy Young's records. They're completely and totally unassailable. They'll never happen. I mean, because this dude has more. I'll put it this way. He has 316 losses, Cy Young. I will say no one will ever win as many games as he lost again. I don't think we'll have another 300-game winner, other than maybe Justin Verlander has an outside shot at it. But like guys who have come up since Verlander are just being in an era where that's not going to happen. So, yeah, it could be, but for the foreseeable future, so Cy Young's records, wins, losses, innings pitched, the whole thing, never going to happen.
Yeah.
I think the next one I'm most comfortable saying is, like, I'm comfortable in saying all these records I'm talking about aren't being broken. But so it's hard to rank them in more unlikelihood of being broken because I think they're all like 0% chance of being broken. But I'll say for the sake of it, I'm going to say the batting average record will never be touched. So that's going to be number 2.
I agree with that.
Number 3 is Cal Ripken's games played streak.
I have that as well.
Never happened in a million years. Number 4, I think Ricky Henderson's stolen base record is pretty safe.
I'm with you on 2, 3, and 4.
And number 5, you can go a few different directions here. You can go with the RBIs with Hank Aaron, but Poole gave it a run. So that gives me outside hope that it happened. I'm gonna go with Barry Bonds' intentional walks, and just walks in general. That's just not gonna happen.
I had that as well.
Yeah, so that's gonna be my 5. 1 will be Cy Young's records. 2 will be the batting average, career batting average. 3 is gonna be Cal's games played streak. 4 to me will be, I believe the stolen base record of Ricky Henderson, and 5 came down to Hank Aaron's RBIs, Nolan Ryan's strikeouts, or Bonds walks. I'm going with Bonds walks, but none of these records are getting broken.
And the one I didn't go for the first one you did, but I had Nolan Ryan's on mine too.
Okay.
So
yeah. Okay.
Interesting.
It is interesting. John's asking, who do you think should be in the Hall of Fame but didn't get in? Well, I mean,
I was just going to ask you your opinion on that. I know what your opinion is, but
Bonds,
everyone else might not.
Yep, Bonds for sure, Clemens for sure. Schilling, I believe, should be in the Hall of Fame. But those first 2, it's a crime. And I'm going to put Pete Rose in there too. Those 3 guys, if no one else, I can understand an argument against both McGwire and Sosa, because the truth is neither one of them was like unassailable as a player, right? Like both of them, you can make arguments for why they just didn't cut it. Putting the steroid situation aside, there's no such argument for Bonds, Rose, or Clemens. There's none.
Right.
So those three, to answer your question, John. So, all right, let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll do the question of the day. Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave.
Do you own a timeshare? Well, face the facts. You made a mistake. You made a bad purchase. A timeshare is not an investment. It's a money pit that continues forever. If you use your timeshare, that's great. But if you don't and you want to legally get out of your contract, call my friends right now at the Timeshare Exit Hotline. They're an experienced team of lawyers who help good people like you get out of a timeshare contract that they just don't want. Don't throw away your money on maintenance fees. Use it for things you really want. We can help you end your timeshare contract and stop the money drain immediately. If you're ready to move on with your timeshare, call our team right now.
Cancel your timeshare now. It's a free call. 800-741-9557. 800-741-9557. 800-741-9557. That's 800-741-9557. If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. Ouch. Well, by wearing a small remote device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers. If you administer insulin 3 or more times per day or use an insulin pump, call now and learn how a CGM can help you.
Painless. No more pricking my finger.
No finger pricks.
Convenience. They delivered it free and they took care of all the paperwork.
You can reduce pain right away. Plus, it's easy to use and helps you spend more time in range. And if you have insurance, you can get a new CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. Call now and get free shipping of your new CGM. Plus, we'll bill your insurance for you. 800-826-5884. 800-826-5884. 800-826-5884. 800-826-5884.
The NBA stands for equal, except when it comes to China. I am KO. Back in a minute with your sports question of the day.
There is a homeopathic remedy for just about every ailment. Longtime medical doctor, osteopath, and homeopath Jeff Lester is available to accurately diagnose the root cause of your affliction and prescribe the proper homeopathic remedy to help your body resolve its affliction. Homeopathic remedies for heart and lung disease, migraine headaches, ADHD, depression, diabetes, and many other afflictions of the body and mind is at hand and may cost less than $10 per month without insurance. For your personal homeopath consultation, call Dr. Jeff Lester at 888-600-8117. Dr. Jeff Lester, 888-600-8117. 888-600-8117. Your homeopathic remedy is at hand for less than you think possible.
In 2017, the NBA moved its All-Star game out of Charlotte, North Carolina because of the state's House Bill 2, which limited anti-discrimination protections for lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender people. The league said, "We do not believe we can successfully host our All-Star festivities in Charlotte in the climate created by HB2. However, the league was silent in response to a recent Chinese court ruling that homosexuality is a psychological disorder. Question: do you think the NBA does or does not turn off its activism in exchange for a piece of the Chinese market?
Oh, God, of course they do. I mean, it's no... And this is why I think activism and business are a tricky balance under any circumstances, what your activism is directed toward, because there's always going to be a market that is of value to you that is on the other side of that issue. And then by being an activist in either direction on any issue, you invariably create these situations where you're going to have to basically, contradict yourself. Now, there's no, in my opinion, great sin in being contradictory or being a hypocrite. It's, you don't want to do it, but it's part of life, particularly it's part of business life. But it certainly is a question that I give these guys a lot of credit for asking and sparking discussion on, because that's the one piece of it that I don't like, that it's never really discussed. I don't think it has to change. I don't think you have to, not try to have your cake and eat it too, so to speak, if you're a business. But I do think it is unhealthy for the media that covers these leagues to not ask this question and discuss it from both perspectives. But again, that's where the money comes into play. There is, because of the mutually dependent relationship that major broadcasting and these major leagues have with one another, they're sort of not independent entities in a lot more. They're sort of codependent. I mean, on one hand, the leagues are completely dependent on the money that these broadcast companies supply them. That's where most of the revenue comes from. That's where all the money comes from. And then on the flip side, the games that these networks pay so dearly to have the rights to are by far the best selling assets, where they generate their largest ad buys and most consistent relationships with major advertisers. So they're dependent in that respect. And both sides have pretty strong leverage. So if I'm ESPN and I call the NBA on the carpet for its dealings with China, if the NBA decides, hey, we don't like this, and they exert punitive measures on ESPN up to and including trying to terminate a contract, just to take this to an extreme, don't you think NBC, CBS, Amazon, Apple, especially now, the million players here, ESPN can't take that risk. But conversely, the NBA is not going to turn away their money makers. So it's a mutually dependent relationship, and it all ties into this. So, and the Chinese market is particularly lucrative for the international affiliates that are tied into these major American broadcasters. There's money flowing in from those to these broadcasters as part of these deals in most cases. So it's a tough one. It is. But this is why the easy thing to do is just not be an activist if you're a business. That's the simplest, most sensible thing. It really is.
Right. Oh, I agree completely. The NBA's looked the other way at China on a lot of issues. And I get why.
Yes.
First of all, China can make this statement all they want. Whether the NBA agrees with it or not doesn't matter, because that's China. That's their right to feel that way in their country.
Yep. Absolutely.
Whether you agree or disagree with the statement, you have no reason to question it or say anything about it. That would be like us telling them how to run the country, and that's unnecessary. We don't need to be doing it. The NBA is definitely not going to do it because, they have a billion reasons why. There's a billion people over there.
Yep. Nope. And that's why it's just easier to not be an activist and just not take a side on things. It just is. It's a good question though. Because it's a topic that I know for a fact people cannot separate, won't separate political stances or activist stances that they don't agree with from a sports league, nor will they separate their financial ties to a country as the enemy. I understand that sentiment. I personally don't operate that way. I take business and sport, which is business, for what it is, which is a money enterprise first and foremost that is going to have contradictions.
Yes.
And some of them I'm going to like, some of them I'm not going to like. All of them I can just kind of take for what they are and keep on moving, because the truth of the matter is, a unless you completely and totally go all neutral all the time, which in the modern world is hard to do.
Oh, it is.
These things are going to happen. They're going to happen. Like, and it wouldn't be the right decision to just tell China to go kick rocks either. You can't afford to do that and run a business effectively. Put it this way. If Adam Silver took that approach, he would not be in the running for the Disney CEO job. I can promise you that.
Right. Well, I give more respect than I did before to Adam Silver for how he handled the Hong Kong situation. He did not back down to China.
Mm-hmm.
Who I didn't like in that was LeBron James, because he had no business saying anything about who should be fired. Just mind your own damn house.
Right. Yep. And then Silver stood up to that and gave Morey the backing, and that was the end of it. That was good leadership.
It was very good leadership.
And that
because whether you agree with what Morey said or not, and I don't think it was anything inflammatory.
No, it wasn't.
Pray for Hong Kong.
Right.
I tend to agree with that. But whether I do or not, it's his right to say it. And it's not China's right to try to silence him the same way it's not our right to say you shouldn't talk way about certain people.
Yep.
But hey, what do I know?
That's right. Got questions here. I saw you answer John about favorite MLB player. Mine is Barry Bonds and Randy Johnson. I am totally all about those two guys. In my life. If I were to say historical players who I wasn't able to watch, it would be Ted Williams and probably Barry Bonds would be the one guy I would add to that I wasn't alive to watch. I mean, there's a million players I would have loved to see, of course, but if you're asking me all-time favorites, I pretty much have three that stand above the rest for me. It's Bonds, Williams, and Johnson.
Johnson was a hard one for me to leave off out of my two, but Clemente was my first player growing up that I liked and hated how it ended. Gorman Thomas is just a personal favorite. It's not the best. It's my favorite.
Kind of wrapping up this conversation, Dylan says, love to get involved in politics. Enos Cantor, on the other hand, anybody seen him lately? Look, this is, I mean, his point is well taken, but this is just the reality of life. The more important you are in your industry, the more you can get away with. I mean, Enos Cantor.
There's another reason, but I won't go into it.
I mean, it's race too, but
yeah.
But if Cantor was black and said exactly what he said, he would have the same result. I believe that. I agree with you. There is often a racial component with this, but I happen to think in this particular example, because he basically aimed his sights squarely at one of the most commercially important people in his industry, this would have happened regardless of what color he was, based on the level of player he was. For him to do what he's done at targeting LeBron, and I'm not saying he doesn't have points here and there, he definitely does, but he had to know when he started this anti-LeBron campaign that this was going to be the outcome. There was no other outcome that could have happened. He would have to be.
What Dylan's talking about is political. So Enes Kanter went on about.
Right, but he's personalizing those political statements.
The atrocities over there before he started on LeBron, and that was the beginning of the end for him.
But remember, if you remember, he had a job again after he mentioned the China stuff. Where he lost his last NBA job was when he brought this to LeBron, when he personalized it. See, to me, I'm never a fan of personalizing political attacks within your own industry, especially. That's what's getting him in trouble. That's what got him in blackballed from the NBA, and he's not good enough to overcome that. If he was Kevin Durant doing this, it would be probably the biggest sports story in the last 25 years, but he would still have a job because he would be too good and too important. But mistake, it would have to be Curry, Durant, Doncic. It would have to be someone of that caliber to do this. Now, of course, the reverse is not. It's not the same in reverse. If LeBron wanted to go out and target, I don't know, Robert Covington, he could do that with impunity and not lose his job. And that's just the reality of how the world works. You know, the more important
Right,
you are,
because Covington's far lower on the pecking.
Exactly. It's not a fair thing. It's not supposed to be. Look, this has been going on for like a million years. I mean, different circumstances entirely, but there's a famous quote where early in his time with the Celtics, Red Auerbach said to the team in practice one day, "Hey guys, don't get it twisted. There's two sets of rules in this team, one for you guys and one for Russell. Bill can do what he wants." I mean, that's just what it is.
True.
It's like, I mean, nothing to do with people deserving. Oh, he's talking about birds don't deserve life. Dylan's giving me a hard time at Randy Johnson. Look, that was the funniest thing I've ever seen. I remember watching that on ESPN as a highlight back when that's how you got sports highlights, was watching SportsCenter. I remember I was probably like a sophomore in high school when that happened. And it was just, I just never seen anything like it before or since. I mean, literally math on that explosion has to be zero. Has to be zero.
Right.
Like, I mean, it was so funny. Anyway, all right, let's.
Well, and the last time I checked the list, they're not an endangered species, are they? Seagulls aren't going anywhere.
All righty. There we go. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll continue on. It's the Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave.
Are you like me? You have health insurance, but you don't have dental insurance. Do you need to get to the dentist right away? Maybe you need an implant or some other major service. Well, I found a dental insurance plan that's right for you. It's called Spirit Dental. Spirit Dental offers a $100 lifetime deductible, a huge network of dentists. And here's the best part. There's no waiting periods. Yeah, that means you can call right now and have real dental insurance for you and your tomorrow and get that immediate coverage you want. Spirit Dental has plans for just a few dollars a day, up to $5,000 annual maximum, and coverage for implants. Whatever age you are, the dental insurance you need is a free phone call away. Now, don't wait. Sure to ask about Spirit's vision plan. Here's the number: 800-631-9229. 800-631-9229. That's 800-631-9229.
Hey friend, life happens and you need money. Do? You call the special toll-free number we're about to give you. We will send you a link to your phone with details on how you can $5,000. Couldn't you use $5,000 to pay for your rent, pay grocery bills, your car repaired, or whatever you need? It's up to you. We don't care. We're just here to lend you the money. And we'll lend people money with good, bad, or no credit at all. Of course, some terms and conditions apply, and you'll see those on the link we're going to send you. So if you need up to $5,000 maybe as soon as the next business day, call this number right now. We will text you a free link with details.
Paid for by Money Mutual. Call 800-586-7112. 800-586-7112. 800-586-7112. That's 800-586-7112.
All righty, we're back, and it's time to look at Major League Baseball's divisions, AL East, NL East. We've been kind of continuing on with this. Let's go with the Yankees starting in the AL, Rich. These teams will conclude our preview for these two divisions. The Yankees today, local. Let's start with the Yankees. I have
a lot on this, and I plan on letting you do the Mets anyway.
All right, so go for it. What do you got?
I got two questions. Can they keep Judge healthy? He's 6'7". He's going to be 31 next month. He's played in over 148 games, or at 148 games, 3 times in his career. That's less than half his seasons. I know they were desperate not to lose him because their offense kind of goes south without him. Probably no team in baseball more reliant on one guy than the Yankees are with Judge. Can he stay healthy? And speaking of Judge, remember when he and Stanton were going to lead an offense that would, like score like maniacs?
Oh, yes.
Didn't happen. But if you look at them this year, they added Carlos Rodon. They got Garrett Cole and Nestor Cortez. And they expect a lot out of Luis Severino and German. I know Frankie Montas is going to miss some time with surgery. He's going to undergo surgery on his shoulder. And the bullpen isn't as strong as it was, but they have a lot out there. And I'll tell you what, I can't wait to see Harrison Bader in center field. I don't think this team is exactly the Bronx Bombers, but I think it might not be the worst thing. Your thoughts?
Well, I feel like I've been watching the same Yankee team for a long time. That's what it boils down to. We can, and you did a good job of sort of pruning the hedges, so to speak, kind of examining the edges of this roster and sort of the areas where things can maybe have some movement. But the truth of the matter is, it's going to come down to what it always comes down to with the Yankees, which is their feast or famine home run strikeout walk approach has shown for a long time now that come playoff time against a good team that can get hits in important situations, that can move runners along, that can manufacture runs, is not likely to work. You're basically betting on the odds of a home run happening often enough in those pivotal inflection situations, in those important games throughout the course of the entire postseason. You're basically counting on that, to the timing of that long workout in your favor once to win a title this way. It's a good enough method to get you to the playoff. That's been proven. It works over the course of 162 games well enough to win you 90 plus games and be a competitive team. But that approach is not a winning approach in a short playoff series against another elite team. And I don't really see that they've made any adjustments, significant adjustments to their roster to acknowledge that reality. I think this team is ideologically dug in. I think they've put their line in the sand, so to speak. They've dug their heels in, and they're just going to continue on this path. So I have every expectation that the Yankees will win a lot of games again. They'll be, exciting at times. They'll go through a stretch where Judge or Stanton or someone is really hot. They'll go through a couple of those stretches a year where, they just keep eating everyone because they keep hitting home runs. But then they're going to go through stretch where that's not happening and they lose. I see this team all over again, basically.
That's a concern of mine too.
Yeah. And I think Dylan's right. This is current generation Yankees seems to be focused on keeping ticket sellouts consistent while remaining relevant. And they're doing a good job of it. He's right. I mean, that's exactly what they're doing. And if that's their goal, then it's accomplished. But if the credo is to win a title, and then maybe this is what's frustrating, and this comes from a non-Yankee fan. Like, when you're this close, it wouldn't take a big adjustment. They need like one or two more DJ LeMahieu types. They need just one or Jeff McNeil. They just need one or two guys who can put the bat on the ball consistently and move runners along and help you manufacture runs. They can just add that to what they have, and they'd probably be able to win. That's what's so maddening about it. They're so almost contemptuous of this other line of thinking that they won't even integrate it in their larger scope of their way of thinking. They won't even say, okay, we need a little of that. They're so contemptuous of it. They're like, no, we're winning this, or we're going to go down trying without even acknowledging the other side might have a point. And that's what drives you crazy, because they're close enough that if they just did a little tweaking, they'd probably win, because they're not that far off.
Right.
It's situational
right. Harrison
baseball.
Bader helps a little bit, but more defensively than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I agree with you completely.
So, all right. So that's the Yankees. And I still think they're probably going to win that division this year. All that said, I still think they're the best team in that division.
Yeah, I agree.
Looking at the Mets in the NL East to wrap up this division, I think they would be the best team in many divisions, could be the best team in this division. I would have felt confident in saying they were had they consummated the Correa deal. Having not done that, and given what the Phillies did, I have the Mets finishing second in the NL East this year. I think they're going to win 100 games, but I don't think they're going to be the best team in that division. I think that division is going to be crazy. And the question I have with the Mets is, are they one bat short? I think they're one bat short. I think Kerr was that bat. I think they needed to consummate that deal, and they didn't. And like with every other team, you have some questions about the bullpen, but I have that with everybody.
Right.
I'm not super concerned. I think this is a really good team. I have a lot of confidence in their management, a lot of confidence in their ownership. I like this roster a lot. There's a few spots of age that you're going to maybe pay some attention to as to whether or not they're still able to perform. Marte is the first one that comes to mind. He was such an important part of their team last year. He's in his mid to upper 30s now. You wonder how much longer he can sustain his level of production. That's something to keep an eye on. There's age on the flip side of this. Of course, Alvarez and also Beatty. What role will either or both of those guys have on this year's team? I personally would like to see both be everyday players. I don't love their catching situation, and I've thought for a long time that they need power bat at third base. Maybe Beatty is that guy. You don't have to go out and get someone. Maybe he can be that. I would be happy to give him the opportunity to prove it or not prove it. But, these are some areas to look at. But overall, this is a well-balanced, well-put-together roster with a lot of good players. It was key that they retained Nimmo. I think it was key that they retained McNeil. Those are basically two guys of the ilk that I was just saying the Yankees don't have that they need. The Mets lost either or both of those guys, they would be effectively in the same position as the Yankees. But I thought those guys were crucial to keep. And now I think you have a roster, and I remember saying this at the end of last season, I think you have a roster with the Mets that if you want to, you could play the old wraparound leadoff hitter thing you want to. So you could have one guy hit 9, one guy hit 1, and do that. Like you could have, say, Neal and Nimmo hit 9 and 1. And then you could throw another guy who can move runners along, someone like maybe Marte at the 2.
Which he should be anyway, not Aaron Judge.
Right, exactly.
Not that kind of situation where the Yankees have Judge hitting it 2. Marte's a perfect 2.
Yes.
For the Mets.
You throw probably from there, you throw Pete at 3 probably. And you put someone behind them. You put I guess who you go at 4. I guess you're gonna go with probably this is where they could Correa.
Right. And that would have also solved the infield problem.
Right, exactly. But there's a good lineup. It's a good team. A lot of good players.
The rookie catcher enter into it at all?
Alvarez, yeah, that's what I was wondering. Alvarez to me would be 3 to 4 days a week at least. I would because it's not like that strength of the team right now. And that's how I feel about Beatty too. I would be playing both of those guys regular minutes, regular games.
Because one, if not both, might provide the bat that you're looking for.
Exactly. All right.
Now, whereas you think no matter what, the Yankees are going to win that division, how about the Mets?
I think Philly's going to win the division. I think they're a better team. But that division could go any direction. That division is the best division in baseball going in on paper by far. There's 3 teams in that division that could win anything. I think the Braves, the Mets, and the Phillies are all capable of winning 100 plus games, every one of them. That division go any direction, really any direction. So it'd be really interesting. That's for sure. All right. Well, let's go ahead and take a break. We'll come back. We'll wrap it up with some news you can use. It's the Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave.
Do you want to save money on your next flight? Then pick up the phone and call. That's right, call, because the best prices are not online. They're with SmartFares. See, SmartFares has special deals with the airlines. When they have unsold seats, they use SmartFares to fill them. So you get airline tickets at crazy low prices. They have access to great prices and discounts at over 500 different airlines, plus 300,000 hotels and rental car companies. Their prices are too low to publish online. With the extra money you'll save, you can book another trip or treat yourself to dinner or shopping. So stop searching all of those travel sites to find the lowest price on your next flight. Let one of our SmartFares expert travel agents find the best price for you. Call SmartFares today and get ready to see the world with a fat wallet.
800-370-2460. 800-370-2460. 800-370-2460. That's 800-370-2460.
Come on, watch the news. Be prepared to pay more taxes. Then, if you owe back taxes or haven't filed in a few years, get ready. The IRS, the largest collection agency in the world, will be coming after you with the power to taxes by any means they want to. Hey, they can freeze your bank account, your passport, even padlock your business. Oh, good times. Look, if the IRS claims you owe them $5,000 or more in back taxes and they're coming after you, don't panic. Call my friends at Get a Tax Lawyer first. Their job is to negotiate with the IRS and save you money. They're experts at it. That's all they do. And you can trust them. In some cases, they have reduced a $50,000 tax bill to less than $1,000. If you owe the IRS $5,000 or more in back taxes, call now for a free consultation.
Call 800-649-8617. 800-649-8617. 800-649-8617. That's 800-649-8617.
All righty, we are back here on the Gary Ayd Show, wrapping things up with some news you can use. What do we got today, Rich?
Okay, let us start off with the Giants and Daniel Jones.
Yes.
They are apart. Jones's agents left with no contract resolution in sight, according to Pro Football Talk. They made a little bit, but nowhere near enough. And they still have a few days to put the franchise tag on. Will they?
Jones, because you have to keep Barkley this offseason. And if you can make some other maneuvers now next offseason to free up some cap space where you're able to effectively keep both long term by just punting on one for this year via the franchise tag, that might be an option. Dylan is reporting here they are traveling. Jones agents are traveling to New Jersey again today to continue those conversations. And then to your point, he continues on with the franchise tag deadline that you just mentioned. So maybe these talks aren't fully done yet either. So we'll see. But I think the franchise tag is a sensible option here, depending on what you think you can realistically do between this year and next year to make your cap situation a little better to get him to a long-term deal. And it's also, the other perspective is he had one pretty good year and a lot of not so good years. So it's reasonable for the team to be like, show me again. I don't think that's crazy.
True. I mean, and when you think about it, the non-exclusive tag is $32 million.
Right.
32.4. It sounds like a lot, but it's not when someone's asking for 45.
Exactly.
Which is way out there.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. What do you make of the Giants if they decide to move on from Jones altogether? Where do they go?
You have to find a quarterback. I don't think there's any excuse. You have to find someone. Considering what the offense is, would you go for Jimmy Garoppolo?
I probably would.
He's not going back to the Niners.
Nope.
Which I think is a mistake, but I get it.
Well, while we're on the topic of Jimmy Garoppolo, this is more speculative with the Giants, but what about the Jets? I mean, if they didn't get Carr, if they're not going to get Rodgers, do you pursue, if you're the Jets, you pursue Garoppolo? Because their quarterback situation is terrifying.
Yes. I don't think they would. I would, and I think you would.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I'm trying to speak for you, but I don't think they will.
Yeah, I agree. I wonder where he is going to land because you haven't heard a lot about his name at all.
I have no idea. I think the Giants are prime for that. Oh, the exclusive tag is $5 million, by the way.
Oof.
So they'd be giving him $45 million for 1 year if they went exclusive. Ian Rappaport on NFL.com said the Ravens will possibly use the non-exclusive tag on Lamar Jackson. Now, if they do that for the $32.4 million, he could still sign someone else.
Right.
And I've seen this backfire on teams. Do the Jets go after him? I think them more likely going after him than Garoppolo.
Yeah, I mean, look, and as they should. I mean, look, I'm not a big Lamar Jackson guy, but he's definitely a better quarterback than Jimmy Garoppolo. So
I think they both have injury concerns.
No, they do. There's no question about it. But Jackson is obviously a little younger and higher ceiling better. It does look like that franchise tag is likely to be applied. I know players hate this thing. And I understand why in the NFL, where 1 year in the NFL is like 5 years in most other sports. A little different for quarterbacks. They have,
but see, with the non-exclusive tag, you still have flexibility.
Right.
And to me, the Ravens have to feel confident that no other team's going to give Jackson the full guarantee that he wants. Thank you again for nothing, Cleveland Browns.
Yes. Yep.
Now, if somebody was going to take a trade or seek a trade, they could probably get a couple of first-round picks because quarterbacks are just so hard to find.
Yep, they're very valuable.
Jackson wants to stay in Baltimore, so he might have to come down a little bit too, if that's true. I haven't seen Jones come out and say, I want to be in New York and nowhere else.
Right.
Again, so you have Garoppolo out there. Aaron Rodgers is a wild card for anything. And then you throw either of these two quarterbacks in the mix. Is there anyone out looking at you would say, this person can fill that spot for less?
Probably not, no. I mean, right now, Garoppolo, it would make the guy that I would be looking at out there as I could probably get him at a relative bargain, do a pretty good job. Probably the best value buy on the market right now, but there's not anyone else like him. Carr was sort of in that category. He's obviously accounted for. I don't see anyone, because everyone else that would be out there is decidedly a backup. You know, like whether you're talking about Andy Dalton or Nick Foles, or you're talking about maybe Mitchell Trubisky. I mean, these are guys that they're either under contract and have been rumored to be traded, or they were available. These are all backups.
They're just guys at this point.
Right, exactly.
Dalton 7 years ago might have been worth a look.
Right.
Dalton now is a backup.
He's a quarterback now. Right. Looking at Garoppolo, he is a starting quality quarterback who has a propensity to overachieve in good situations. So, yep. So there you have it.
We got time for one.
Let's do it.
Great MLB broadcaster John Miller is not happy with the Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks, he felt, handled a split squad game against the Giants very badly. He blasted them for not providing him and his co-workers with any information because it featured a lot of little-known people. Miller's quote, I guess the D-backs neglected the big leagues here. Let's just not be a big league team for this game. They have sent no PR people over, no information about who the manager is, and nothing on the players. Be a big league team. Let's just treat them like a sandlot team. They gave us no information. So one of these guys, red shirt, is managing, and one of their right-handers is on the mound. There are certain things that go along with being a big league team. I did a little homework on with what little we have, which is nothing whatsoever from the Busch Diamondbacks.
Oof.
I agree with him 1,000%.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
he has every right to be upset.
Oh, no question. And we've all, those of us, maybe,
yes.
Maybe he hasn't, but those of us that have called low-level sports, you know, high school, travel, junior college, lower levels.
Even minor league professional sports.
Yeah, minor league baseball tends to be a little more organized, but like
baseball, yes, a lot of minor leagues in other
basketball.
sports.
Oh yeah, minor league basketball is the worst. They're less organized than most high schools.
Oh yeah, I mean, you remember the way we had to go digging?
Oh yes. Well, this is where I was going with this is this is part and parcel for the course for those of us who have worked lower levels. You get,
it should never be the case in a major
you
league
get
game.
spoiled
Even if you're using minor league players.
Right.
It's spring training.
Right. Yep, exactly. And that's the one thing I've always said. I think in a lot of ways, the aptitude required to do minor league sports, high school and small college, is actually greater than the aptitude required to do major league sports, because professional sports and high level college, everything's set up. You're not thinking about what's my connection like. You're not thinking about where do I get the information. You're not wondering, oh, where can I find injuries? Like, all of that's there for you, and it's brought to you. You have defined access points. It's all very systemized and organized. So for someone like John Miller, when you're used to that forever, and then all of a sudden it's not there, yeah, you have every right to be like, what the hell? Because that's, like he said, that's one of the things that goes along with being a major league team. It's just the organization of information and the presenting of it to our broadcasters. Just what it is.
Agreed. Completely.
All right. Well, that does it for us. We'll see you again tomorrow, 10 to noon, the Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave.